the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the council, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the province came to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Then the prince, the governors, the captains, the judges, treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and the rulers of the province were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Let me put it into perspective to you. It was as if the Chamber of Commerce was open, a grand opening for a golden image. Everybody was there. All the dignitaries were there. It was a big occasion for this false god. Then the herald cried aloud to you, as it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, harp, sackle, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, we fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. And whosoever falleth not down and worship shall at the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Therefore at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, psaltery, nations and all languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Wherefore at the time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. You've always got some accusers, amen? Which spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that hears shall sound the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, and shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whosoever falleth not down and worship, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, which are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, let me give you a backdrop real quick. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were captives. They were in a captive land. They were in Babylon. They were Jews. They were Hebrew boys. They loved God. And yet they found themselves captive, bound. And Nebuchadnezzar went and found these boys over in Israel because he knew of, and you know how old these kids were? They were 14, 15 years of age. Young kids. He went and snatched them up to bring them over to Babylon so that he could teach them the ways of pagan gods. Nebuchadnezzar knew that he could not get nobody in his own clan in Babylon to go with him because they knew what he already stood for. So he had to go and get captives and come in and train them and teach them the ways of Babylon. And this is where we're at. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, or worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye shall fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast into the same hour into the midst of the fiery burning furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Nebuchadnezzar was putting himself up saying he was God. What God going to deliver you out of my hands. I know today that there's distractions going around, but I'm going to tell you something. If you catch what I'm going to speak to you today about, it's going to change your life. How so, Pastor? Because first, you got to be liberated before you can be accelerated to be elevated with God. That's what I'm going to preach today. How to be liberated from your circumstance. How many of you this morning would say, I am bound to something? You're bound to something. I am. I'm bound up with something. And I need help. You know what I'm bound up with? Financial distress. How so, Pastor? Well, I have a sinkhole house. And it's eating away $1,000 a month. And it's now 22 months. It's $22,000. Money's just going in the ground. Literally. I need to be liberated from that situation. What are you bound to? What's holding you back from God's best? So that you can be accelerated and elevated. Now, here we are. This is what he said. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. And he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve your gods, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat up the furnace 7 times more than it was heated before. I'm reading this because I want you to know where we're at. I'm not even preaching yet. I want you to understand where Nebuchadnezzar was at. He said, not only kill them, incinerate them. I don't even want to see ashes. I want these boys gone. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning, fiery furnace. Not only were they tested, but they were tried and tied. And these men were bound in their coats, and their hosens, and their hats, and their other garments, and cast into the midst of the burning, fiery furnace. And he had got 3 mighty men. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, the furnace was exceeding hot, and the flame of fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It was so hot, when they threw them in, the 3 men died. That's how bad it was. You think hell's hot? Woo! He got that thing 7 times hotter. You think that furnace was hot? Woo! Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in his haste, and spoke, and said unto the counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? And they answered and said, O king, it is true. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like unto the Son of the living God. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near, and the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth on the midst of the fiery burning furnace. Long story short, and the last verse, verse 30. And then the king, Nebuchadnezzar, promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. He promoted them. He tried to kill them, but now he's promoting them. I have a word for you this morning. I have a word. Amen. And I believe that the Lord, if you'll just hold on and hold tight and listen today and really say, God, what do you want to speak in my life? There may be some things that we're going to take